Welcome to Accelerate OC, the only show focused on the people leading innovation in Orange County. Join our host, Kerry Ransom, in his conversations with the trendsetters, entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders here, because it's time to Accelerate OC.
Welcome to Accelerate OC. I'm excited to have my friend Scott Fox here today. First, let me tell you a little bit about Scott, and then we're going to let him share all kinds of exciting things with us today. So Scott is the founder of the Orange County Startup Council, which has been long needed here, and Scott has taken it by the reins and gotten that started. We're going to talk more about it, and he's bringing tons of visibility to all that's happening in the Orange County tech startup world and coalescing it into a site that he launched last year, and so we'll talk about that. He also is the founder and CEO of the Mastermind Founders Startup Forum, where he's helping a bunch of startup founders here in Orange County to work together, learn, and improve their skills as startup founders. So I'm sure he'll share some of that as well. He's been a 3-time author. He also was a corporate executive at Live Nation, as well as a number of other companies, but has done a lot of things around live events. And one of the things Scott and I have talked extensively about, we'll probably get into today, is how we need to bring more of those kinds of celebrations and events here to Orange County in the tech startup community to really continue to build that connectivity. He's had an extensive career in digital media. He was what I would characterize as a .com veteran, because he's been involved in some of those brand name .coms from the early days, but still super active and relevant with the startup founders of today. And with all that, he also has got a law degree from Stanford. So he's done a ton. He continues to do a ton. And Scott, really appreciative and excited to have you here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Kerry. I'm so glad you're doing this. It's great that we can do this and talk about all the exciting things going on here in Orange County.
Awesome. Well, just another forum in which we hope we can reach and inspire other founders and other folks to get involved.
Yes.
So start... tell me about what led you to get the Orange County Startup Council off the ground.
Well, I came to Orange County a few years ago after a career in New York and Silicon Valley and LA. And I guess the short version is I see business and opportunities as kind of a ladder. And for technology companies, startup founders here in Orange County, we're simply missing some of the rungs. It's too hard to climb that ladder here in Orange County compared to other ecosystems. Mm-hmm. And I got really frustrated about it. I went to all the events. I joined as many things as I could. And it was just too hard. And I don't need to start another company. I've started several, and I'm involved in many more. It's designed to help fill in some of those rungs. We're not competing with any of the many existing fantastic organizations that are out there. We're just trying to amplify the signal and fill in some of the gaps so that if you're new to Orange County, or you're new to entrepreneurship, or you're new to both, that you realize there are lots of resources and assets here that can help you.
Yeah, that's great. I could not agree more, as obviously we've talked about extensively. So we've talked a lot about how Orange County has some really unique attributes as we look ahead into the future of innovation. Are there things that you particularly see in the conversations and work that you're doing that you want to draw attention to for the people that are listening to this today?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we could talk about this for hours, you and I, as we have and will again, I'm sure. But I guess the thing that really struck me, that caused me to get off the couch or from behind the keyboard and really start organizing is that I think Orange County has a real insecurity complex. We're very kind of shy about all the assets we have here. And you go to the Bay Area and everybody knows that they lead the world in tech, and they're all probably have a little arrogant at this point. But Orange County has so much going on, and the story is just not being told very well. And I think that we need to group together to let everybody know about all the assets we have here. And I mean financial assets. There's plenty of money here. There's plenty of talent. We've got great universities. We've got the weather, the lifestyle, and we've got so many pieces that other ecosystems would kill for. Right. And yet we feel kind of behind the 8 ball compared to our neighbor, certainly compared to Silicon Valley. Everybody feels behind those guys. But even compared to LA or our neighbor to the south, San Diego, where they are a little better organized, seemingly better capitalized, and certainly doing a better job of telling the story. So I think we all kind of need to get over it and stand up and be proud about what's going on here, because there is quite a lot.
That's right. So you spearheaded this, and obviously I was a huge supporter.
Yes, you
Continue
were.
to be.
Thank you.
Let's let the folks listening in a little bit to those early endeavors as you were trying to get this off the ground. So what do you feel like surprised you when you decided, you know what, we need to do this, we need to form the Orange County Startup Council? What surprised you in those early days?
Yeah. Well, here's how I see the ecosystem, and I guess what surprised me is that nobody else has done this before me. Because to give a quick little bit of background to anybody listening, ocstartupcouncil.org is the URL, and it's really high-tech stuff. And I'm saying that, well, you can't see me, but I'm smiling. Carrie's laughing. It's really high-tech stuff. It's a directory, which we used to call like a yellow pages. That doesn't exist anymore. Trying to get all the startups in one place, right? We have a jobs board. We have a calendar. We even have this easy rocket science thing. You'll get posts from the blog and you'll list your company in the directory, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, so that's the background. So to answer your question more specifically, I see our ecosystem, or I guess any ecosystem really, is having three legs. And you've got entrepreneurs like me and you, then you've got all the service providers, and then you've got the investors. And so many of the efforts I see around town are really good at one or maybe two of those, and very few of them have pulled all three together. Right. And it's kind of like a stool. It will fall over if you only have two legs, right? And so the work that I've been doing over the past 6 months or a year has really been about meeting people in all of those sectors and trying to get them under one big tent where they can all simply find each other, because we're so geographically spread out here in Orange County that it's really, again, like I said, it's a lot harder than it needs to be. So let's at least start with online. People always were saying to me, well, let's get a building, let's start a cool bar or a restaurant, and then we can all hang out there. I'm like, that's a cool idea, and that's the natural result from all the real estate thinking here in Orange County. Everybody's like, oh, the answer is real estate. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Because honestly, people in Aliso Viejo don't see people in Anaheim that much, right? And they're not all going to suddenly start coming to Tustin just because we open a bar, right? So anyway, the OC Startup Council is to try to do that virtually, because we are all on our phones and our laptops, and we can find each other there.
Sure. So we started with some events. We talked about, I'm just going to go under the hood a little bit and share. So we started with some events. We had was a couple dinners,
bringing kickoff dinners,
bringing people from each of the legs of that stool together, and had some good conversations. It was very supportive. Share a story or two that you've seen from having the blog, having the site up. That is, because these things are hard, and it's easy to start it and then lose steam. But I feel like you're building momentum.
Yeah. Well,
so what are the stories that are giving you that reinforcement that, yes, I'm on the right track?
Right. So we had some dinners in the fall, thanks to Silicon Valley Bank again for sponsoring those. And we had a bunch of thought leaders together from all three legs of that stool, as we mentioned. And we've seen a lot of really good metrics. We're not at the point where we have big KPIs of millions of page views and so forth, but the stories I'm hearing really demonstrate that there's such an appetite and a need for this. And that's me as a serial entrepreneur. That's what I look for. I look for problems to solve and holes to fill. And that's what keeps me going, is these stories I keep hearing of, I met this investor at this event and now we're talking, or, hey, I needed an attorney, and our friends at Stradling or Rutan, are now our attorneys. And this is I work really in the pre-seed and seed stage, which is where I think Orange County is missing most of its support.
Those are a couple rungs on the ladder that we need to fill in.
Right, the earlier stage stuff. And Tech Coast Angels has come in and sponsored as well. And so there are people that see this, and the stories are consistently, for example, as you mentioned, the masterminds. So I run Masterminds OC, which is a monthly workshop for seed stage entrepreneurs and even pre-seed entrepreneurs. And part of the format there is that at the end of each evening, we do these once a month, and people talk about successes that they've had. And increasingly the successes are, I met Carrie at this meeting or this event you had, 90 days ago, and now we're working together. I found my co-founder here. I found my attorney or my investor here. And I didn't know where to go with my app, and I met 3 app developers, and now my app is in the App Store. That kind of stuff. And that's what gets me excited.
Absolutely.
And it's what validates all of this. And what really the main thing, and you and I have talked about this, is the main thing that I think is missing in Orange County for entrepreneurs is hope. Like
Yep.
it's made to sound, the mass media makes entrepreneurship sound so easy. You have a rich uncle gives you $1 million and 3 weeks later you're public and you're flying around like Mark Zuckerberg, and that's just not how it works. It's a long slog, and I think we would all do it better as a team. Simply put, it's more fun with friends.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, and it absolutely is a team sport.
Yeah, team sport.
Even, while most cases a startup gets off the ground with a person,
right,
to get anywhere, it requires that team.
Yes.
And certainly something I've seen in a number of the startups that I've been involved with as we've scaled from a handful of us to dozens, if not hundreds of people. And so even having that vision and to your point, hope of how we're going to get there is important. So let's keep on that topic for a moment. We talked, and my belief is, and this is part of what led me to start Accelerate OC, is that because that hope is missing, because that platform for a budding entrepreneur to connect to here seems overly difficult. Like I'm going to climb this ladder and it's missing a bunch of steps on it. There's a lot of latent entrepreneurism that I believe exists here.
Yes, that's your phrase. I use that phrase
Yes.
all the time now. Latent entrepreneurship. That's a Carrie Ransom original.
And let's talk. Orange County Startup Council, I think, is a great rung to try to help address that. Right, it's a place where we can tell these success stories at different stages. We can tell the start, we can tell the growth, we can tell the exit, and we're seeing some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
And in some respects, I say we're succeeding here despite the community and the lack of connectivity. So let's talk about that. How do we, in your opinion, how do we inspire and reach and create that hopefulness for somebody who's starting to develop that fire in their belly?
Yeah. Well, I think like you said, there's a lot of latent entrepreneurship here, and we need to do a better job of telling the story. I've met with a number of organizations around town and in Southern California who want to tell the story of our region at kind of a 30,000 foot level, and that's important, absolutely. Right? That Southern California, and specifically Orange County, maybe even specifically Irvine, is a place where innovation is happening. That story needs to be told better, and there are efforts underway. For example, Irvine Chamber of Commerce and other folks who are trying hard to develop messages around that, and going out around the country and around the world delivering that message. So that's awesome. But a lot of what I think we're missing is the bottom up. People in government and larger institutions tend to want to do it on a big policy level scale. And honestly, that's not how entrepreneurship works. It's a bunch of crazy individuals who are excited about the things they're excited about, and they start building shit, and then stuff happens, right? And it's really organic and chaotic, but that's honestly how it works. And there's a great book by Brad Feld about building communities and ecosystems. And they did this in Boulder, Colorado, and they started the Techstars incubator system, which I know you know about, but they've done that nationally and I think even globally. And it really, one of his main points is it has to come organically from the entrepreneurs in the community. And that's what I'm trying to encourage everybody to do, so we can meet the top-down efforts at least halfway, and if not more, by having a surge of entrepreneurs here who are hanging out together and in non-competitive ways, contributing into the ecosystem without expectation of specific gain, but just kind of like, there's something happening. I want to be a part of it.
Right.
My app and your SaaS business and your medical device or whatever it is, all these let's all just keep in touch and grow together, because honestly, the lessons and the hurdles that most entrepreneurs face are similar, just regardless of what the product is. You've got to raise money, build a team, ideate, tell your story, all those things. And that community feeling, I think, is what we all need to do better on, and what you and I are both here literally right now talking about and sharing the message to encourage.
That's right. And it's not a one-time show up and it's going to happen. It's relationships that get invested into and built over long periods of time, and that's just the way communities exist, through relationships.
That's
and I think one of the things that I experienced here, and I've been here now 15 years, is there are a lot of people that are still very transactionally minded, and they're looking for that transaction or that job or whatever it is today.
Yeah.
And if they don't get it today, they get disheartened, they lose that hope.
Right.
And
I think that's part of the Orange County culture is so much of the success here has been transactionally based. It's real estate, and it's a lot of money in real estate. That's literally transactions, right? And a lot of the other folks who are a great part of the ecosystem, like attorneys and CPAs, their whole life is transactions, and there isn't as much of the culture here of sort of long-term vision, product ideation, and development, and that's what I think we need to spread.
Absolutely. So I remember earlier this year there was an event our friend JJ Risha led for the TCVN, which is Tech Coast Venture Network, been around a long time. Another great organization here that's been committed helping move things forward in the innovation economy. And there was this event that featured about, call it 120, 125 startups and a few dozen angel investors and speed dating. And I remember you and I talking there and saying, the magic isn't that these entrepreneurs are meeting potential angel investors for their business. It's that they're meeting each other.
Yes.
And that they're starting to build those relationships. And that, to your point, is critical to this stool getting built. That leg, and I'd argue that entrepreneurs probably need to be 2 of the 4 legs of the stool.
Yeah, probably right.
To really make it work. And maybe one is the active entrepreneurs and the other is the budding entrepreneurs or potential latent ones that we want to try.
Well, and then there's the other
out.
leg, which I think we are a little light on here in Orange County, and part of our problem might be is the alumni, the people who have exited and have the money and expertise and now the time to come back into the community. And we've seen some of that, like Ryan Huff, our mutual friend, after Cirrus Insight sale. He's around at a lot of events until he found something new to get involved in. And I would love to see more of that because everybody hears about the PayPal mafia and the Facebook mafia and so forth up in the Bay Area, and we don't really have those here apparently yet. But I think it's happening. I mean, Cylance and CrowdStrike recently, and there is money flowing in here, and hopefully some of those folks will emerge to nurture the ecosystem as well.
That's right, and that's one thing. I've got some other folks here in the next several weeks who are on the verge. They have raised a lot of money. Kyle, who was on last week, has raised almost $100 million or so for Cloud Virga, and at some point they're doing well, and at some point hopefully there'll be an event that helps create that opportunity for reinvestment. And it has happened in other sectors. You and I have spent most of our life more on the internet and software side, which we continue to really want to drive, and there's a ton of activity in that going on here. But in the healthcare or the pharmaceutical side, you look at a company like Allergan, and they were sold several years ago. They just went through a second M&A event or in process right now. And from the people that I know in that world, they're saying that is spurring the reinvestment. And there are new startups starting to emerge from the folks that were in there.
That's
and
exciting.
So that's super exciting because this isn't to say it's all one sector. Part of what I think makes Orange County really unique is that we have this very diverse economy. We have the real estate background and legacy. We have healthcare. We have other aerospace and software and
restaurants.
Even there's all kinds of restaurant chains that have started here. You also have all the surf and lifestyle brands, and so if we can figure out how to better mash those up, I think is where we might find one of the things I think we've talked a little bit about, these convergence spaces where you bring a lifestyle brand with maybe a material science company and you create the next generation of clothing, or who knows. But I think there's all kinds of really cool.
Well, we're seeing a little of that in like real estate and fintech, right? Because we have real estate fintech companies here, and if we had to pick a couple sectors that I'm excited about for Orange County, I'm excited about anything. Like you said, I'm more of a software guy, but it seems like cybersecurity, real estate, fintech. It'd be great if we did more gaming and esports stuff. There's certainly some strong efforts in those directions. Virtual reality space would be great for Orange County. We have some places, especially where we could be good, but we're open for business. I think that's the real message in any space,
that's
right? And there are a lot of resources for entrepreneurs that just don't all find their way to the intended targets, I think.
That's right. Well, you stole my next question.
Sorry.
It's great. I mean, I think this is why we have so many good conversations. Is we think about these things a lot. But what I was going to ask is, what are if you were to pick some categories, because what I've also found is that you have a lot of people here who are broadly capable, and the types of people that can really move companies forward. I call them athletes. They're broadly capable in a number of industries, or even in some cases in a number of functional areas. And in some cases, they just need to have their energy directed into spaces that are emergent or exciting. And I would sort of identify a little bit that way. I've worked in a lot of different industries. I know you have as well. And I'm curious. I like to go explore things that are new and exciting. And so if you were to pick a couple, you mentioned a few, are there any other spaces that you think, you know what, Orange County has the pieces. We should be a world leader. Let's plant a flag and try to build density of companies and investors and entrepreneurs in this space. Anything that you think we just absolutely should be putting in intention and attention to?
Well, I know a lot of people are thinking about that, and I think they're mostly around the sectors I mentioned. For us not to be a leader in real estate, fintech would be just crazy. I mean, come on. We've got so much talent here and at all levels of the value chain. And then cybersecurity, we've got several big companies here already. So those two, I think, are already, they don't quite have escape velocity yet, but there's clearly a momentum, yeah. And then the others, esports, it's a shame we lost virtual reality. It was a shame we lost Oculus up to Menlo Park, but Palmer Lucky's here and other people are here. There are virtual reality things going on, and that kind of makes sense to me because we have an aerospace and military and sort of hardware background, but we're also near LA, and you can kind of see the overlap of the talent for that. And then esports and gaming, there are programs at UCI and Webster University and other places where we're leaders in offering. We literally offer degrees in that stuff. Like that's not happening. I don't know. No offense to Oklahoma, but I don't think that's happening in other places or other states. So yeah, I'm excited in general. But what I think is most interesting is if we don't know, and the idea of putting a lot of effort into the system without a specific reward is really hard for people to get their heads around. But what I'm here to talk about, and I know you believe in also, is I don't want to. It seems to me that historically the conversations in Orange County have been a lot about maybe not conversations, but the internal dialogues have been about how can I make my slice of the pie bigger, and everybody's kind of looking at their own slice. And I think that's just the wrong discussion. We need to reframe the discussion. Orange County rocks, we're kicking ass, and let's make the whole pie bigger, right? If we make the whole pie bigger, all the slices get bigger too. And I don't think that's that hard to do. I've seen this movie before. Like I said, I was in New York, I was in the Bay Area, I was at Palo Alto, I graduate school at Stanford, as you mentioned, before the internet hit. And then Palo Alto, oh my God, it became the center of the universe, right? And then I was in LA for about 15 years, and same thing there. It was an entertainment town. And then the internet hit, right? And I've seen this movie, right? We have the assets, we have the talent, we have the location. There's no reason that can't happen here. It just takes everybody else kind of stepping up and puffing, throwing their shoulders back and stepping out strong and saying, look, we're doing this. And I think that can make all the difference. And that's why we're on the air today.
That's right. Yeah. And it is, to your point, it is a bit of a longer game in that you have to think about broad abundance. You have to think about, this isn't one company is going to change this whole area. Right. It is singles and doubles and home runs, and we need to have all those. And pick people up when the first idea doesn't work. I know a number of entrepreneurs here who didn't have a huge success in their first one, but man, did they learn a lot.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I had a startup over 15 years ago that I still draw daily knowledge, insights, learning, and we shut it down. We were
in relationships probably too, right? I think that's one of the things that neither of us mentioned so far. We have a really deep bench here, and so much of our talent then gets recruited away to the Bay Area or to LA or San Diego or maybe all the way to New York or overseas, right? But people leave all the time, and it's like, geez, why are you leaving? We've got a lot going on here. I think that one of the big challenges for any company is hiring, right? So if we do a better job of retaining and hiring, it's a flywheel, right? We just got to get it kicked off, and I think it will cycle, and that will bring a lot of the capital off the sidelines too. Teach people how these risks can turn into wonderful exits, the same cycle that we see at Tech Coast Angels all the time. It just takes some time, as you said, but I think we're there. Just keep pushing, and the parade's going this way. Let's go.
That's right. So let's finish up here because unfortunately Paul's given me the the high
Paul's
sign.
giving you the finger.
And I appreciate Paul being here. What is on tap for the Orange County Startup Council the rest of this year? And how can the community get more involved?
Sure, thanks. Well, so as you can tell by listening to this, folks, I'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. The whole community would love to have you. So come to ocstartupcouncil.org and sign up for the newsletter. It's free. If you run a startup company, an early stage technology company, we're not doing life sciences. This is really software and hardware companies, because I think additional focus will help us increase the flywheel effect. But if you have a company like that, come and join. You can join for free, and then you get a bunch of benefits. We've got benefits haven't even been announced yet, but with Oracle and Zendesk and Rutan and Tucker and people like that are giving services, thousands of dollars worth of services to our startups to help nurture this, right? So come join, check it out. If you can afford it, please join the member or even come and be a sponsor. We need all that. And then monthly, we run the Masterminds OC workshops that I mentioned. Those are once a month. The next one's July 17th, but they're every month at mastermindsoc.org. And these are interactive group sessions, 40, 50 entrepreneurs in a circle, and we talk through the real-life problems that real-life entrepreneurs have. And it's building a great community. The networking is even better than the content, but it's a lot of fun. And those are free too if you submit a question or want to bring a pitch that you want to practice. So we're doing our best to accelerate everybody.
Well, and I appreciate you for making things so accessible. At times, I think entrepreneurs feel like they're excluded, or how do I get in? And you've really been out there and easy to access. So final lap, Scott. One thing that I love every guest on Accelerate OC to share is just, what is either lesson or piece of advice that you would want to share with the community on how to get better? Because that's a part of this is to draw attention, but also to help us build and improve as a community. So what would you love to share with the listeners today?
You emailed me that, and I should have thought about that more because but I'll key off your last suggestion there. I think Orange County could be more welcoming to entrepreneurs. It's a bit insular. So I guess my suggestion to entrepreneurs or anybody with entrepreneurial ideas is ask. People here are honestly nice. They're all just busy. Yep. And don't be a jerk and drive people crazy. But there are a lot of people here who will help, and it's amazing the amount of goodwill that's available if you go out and ask. And I would not be shy. You're never going to make it as an entrepreneur being shy. That's right. So you might as well get started and ask the stupid questions. And if you don't have any place else to go, come to these workshops I'm running. It's one of the reasons I run the Masterminds OC. But Carrie, me, there's a lot of people here who do care, and it's just hard to find us. But if you can find us, UCI has tons of resources, SBDC and others, Octane. Go out and look. Don't just because you haven't seen it on TV and news and on your Instagram all day every day doesn't mean it's not happening. There's a lot of going on here in technology entrepreneurship, and we'd love to have you join the party.
Scott, thank you so much for joining this ride with me today and taking us on it, and really more for leading by example. You're really helping move things forward here, and I would say you're definitely doing your part to Accelerate OC. Welcome to the family.
Well, thank you, and you too. Thanks for doing this show. This is a great asset to our community, Carrie. Good job. Thanks.
You've just listened to Accelerate OC. Join our live recordings every Tuesday morning at accelerateoc.com or listen, like, and share anytime from your favorite podcast spot. Let's accelerate OC together.